video, I would like to suggest to you a recipe for eliminating 90% of any conflict that arises in relation to your partnership with your loved one, partnership with your business partner, any relationship at all. So if you're looking at conflict, what conflict really means? Conflict in situation, it means that we have one person with ego that got triggered, responds to situation triggered by another person. It can be a word, it can be facial expressions, it can be sense of energetic change. Anything can trigger the ego, especially if we're talking about business partnership and you point to me something that I haven't done to the level of my excellence. I missed deadline, I have not accomplished what we agreed that will be accomplished today, during the week, during the month, whatever. So if you step into the conversation about accountability, it's very natural for almost every human being that is unconscious in the moment to have ego challenged, and therefore defender wakes up and it wants to do its job, it wants to defend. So as soon as you push my button and point to any imperfection of my behavior, being unconscious, I will defend. So my recipe for eliminating this behavior is stick to the data. What do you mean by that? Let's say, for example, you pointed that I missed deadline. My defender will arise if I'm unconscious and my ego wants to make sure that it presents perfect image to myself and to another. I will defend. Whether it's true or not, there will be defense. I can assure you that it's such a common thread. I see it across the board. I remember in my relationship situation like that. I see it when we coach clients. It just happens all the time. And the problem with that, we take it for truth. Our defender's voice, we assume that that's the truth and we defend it. Instead of being present to that, be a witness and see what happens. And stick to the data. What is the data? The data is, did I miss deadline or not? If that's what you're challenging me with, I simply look at the data. And yes, it doesn't mean that you will not be triggered, emotion will arise, but witness emotions and look at the data. Did I miss deadline or not? If I missed the deadline, then the data is now why? Look in the data, why? And it's not, oh, because you're wrong and it was not possible and all the blames and all the, again, defenses. No. Look at the data, why you didn't accomplish. Reason number one, maybe, I forgot. And there's always solution. As soon as you look at the data, honestly, without emotion, and never trust your emotions. Emotions are fluke. You never can base any decision based on emotions. You can base decision, you can make decision based on intuition, but it's not emotion. Emotions are very seductive and they're fluke. What I mean by that, they're not permanent in your life to any degree. They're not defining the truth in any way. Because if you look at the data, what you experience as emotion right now in that particular moment will be different what you will experience 10 minutes from now, 1 hour from now. So from the moment you woke up this morning till the moment when you go to sleep, you will probably experience, if you would be able to very consciously witness your emotional transitions, you will experience hundreds of different emotions. So which one can you believe in? Which one you taking as some constant against which you can validate anything at all? So forget about emotional responses. They will happen. Witness, don't judge them. Look into the data in all the situation. So back to our little simple example. You missed the deadline. Did I miss it? I missed it. I'm not happy about it, but we don't care about that. Happy, unhappy, emotion. Now, and no, I don't mean that it does matter if you're happy, but it's a totally separate conversation. So we are looking at the data. Why did I miss the deadline? I forgot. If we're very honest about situation, we know what to do with that. We stop relying on our mind to remember everything and we document it in a very simple way. Any agreement between us can be documented. I don't suggest you to write contract with your loved one, but put it on calendar, put it on your action plan, put it anywhere and forget it, let it go. The problem, and again I see it all the time, people don't document small things and they remember them, they try to remember. Then accumulated amount of things to remember causes stress. First of all, it causes inefficiency because you cannot remember everything. It's just impossible. The mind doesn't design like that. So you rely on a machine that cannot solve the purpose that you're assigning to that. And the most important, I would say, forget about the inefficiency component, you become very, very stressed. That's unnecessary. So that's just one point. Don't try to remember. And if your data is different on the question, if you ask questions, why didn't I meet the deadline? The data might be, I just didn't feel like it. And that's the data. I missed it because I relied on my feelings, on my emotions. I did not rely on agreement that we made. So that means that you cannot count on me in situations like that. I'm not accountable. And we need to be accountable with ourselves to admit the fact. This is the data. I did not feel like it, therefore I came up with the story how to justify that I didn't accomplish that, and I will defend it. That's what happens all the time. Does it make sense? Don't you agree with it? Let's look at situations differently. For example, you actually did not miss the deadline. Maybe your partner forgot and assumed that it's today, that something had to be accomplished. And because she did, in her mind, she relies on that particular item to be completed so she can do something else. And there is a connection between it, right? Stick to the data. You thought that it's another deadline, another date, and she might defend it. I remember, we did agree on that. And it's exactly back to the same point. Why is it documented? There's no data. So relax, everybody relax, breathe. There's no conflict. We'll learn from it now. Next time, just document it. Put it somewhere. Put it somewhere that you can go back. And if next time clash appears, instead of defending and wasting half an hour, and then we get upset for a day, for two, for a week, unnecessary. The point came to the potentially conflict. I didn't do it, you didn't do it, Let's look quickly. In my document, it's actually tomorrow. Oh, you're right, I'm mistaken. Good. And it's gone. So this is obviously a very primitive, very simple example. But everything is pretty simple if you break it down like that. Do not trust your emotional change, emotional transitions. Just witness them and go back to the data. If that's something that you will acquire as a practice, I assure you, your relationship will become much more smooth and much more deep. Because when defender comes up, it wakes up. Its ego, it's very rigid, and more often it happens, there is less space for love. I can assure you that as soon as the ego is not activated, there is so much more space for love. And that's one of the reasons why couples start something together and then they drop it because they can't handle it. They don't have tools and very simple understanding that the notions of the ego is not the truth. I hear so many couples say, oh, we tried it, never do that again. Why? Why didn't you take it as a practice? Relationship is a practice. It's constant practice. Can I stay with what is, or am I going to perpetually perceive the world and allow my perceptions drive my life and ruin it? Because we cannot rely on perceptions. They're so subjective and they're subject to hundreds of different things, which is a separate conversation. We can do that any other time. Okay? So stick to the data. As soon as conflict arises, remember that and ask yourself, okay, honey, let's stop. Let me ask myself, what is actually the data? And you do the same. Please ask yourself, what is the data? Okay? You said that I did something wrong, whatever format it is. You said it. And I have emotions about that. I'm witnessing my emotion. That's separately. Now, let's look at the data. What does it mean I did something wrong? Let's say that word used. And then you will get what it means. And then you break down every separate piece and look very honestly. You know, I'm such an advocate for complete, brutal honesty with yourself. What you do with others, I repeat it all the time, it's your business. You build your life and you make mistakes. And then you learn from it because it usually brings undesired outcomes. But do yourself a huge favor and everybody around you who actually you care about, be very honest with yourself. Okay. So, a lot of couples say, we struggle, we have this power struggle all the time. We cannot go beyond power struggle. Okay? So let's talk about that. What does it mean? How to avoid power struggle? What is the power play anyways? It's my ego want to be perceived by me, by you, by others as, I don't know, you can define it in any way you want, right? Superior, more that, more another. The form can be anything. It's all comes down to what do you want to be perceived as, right? And we have these things. I want to be perceived as smart, and I want to be perceived as sexy, and I want to be perceived as open-hearted, and I want to be perceived as very kind. As soon as ego is challenged, then there is an inner conflict unless we manage to deal with it. So the power struggle is obviously about that. If for me what is important to be smart, and you take it away from me to validate myself as smart, we are going to fight. Unless you become conscious and understand your own tendency of doing that. So, if you must ask my humble opinion, I can tell you, play power games in the bed. This is a really good place to do that. It can add something to your life. It can spice it up. As soon as you bring it outside of the bedroom and try to play it in real world, assuming that the game is the life, no. The life is the game, not the game is the life. It's very different approaches to this power exchange. If you do it consciously and play with that, that's awesome. As soon as you take it as something that is objective, you will suffer. And you will make your loved ones suffer. And that will lead to nowhere. Okay? And power games can be very subtle. You can see it in passive-aggressive behaviors. You can see it in affairs because someone was not satisfied. You did not validate me every day that I'm the sexiest man alive or the smartest man alive. So I'm going out there and I'm going to seek for that. Or, there's so many opportunities to play it out. Some people say, clearly define the roles in the relationship. What does it mean? How can you clearly define what is undefinable? But the roles are just that, you play them all the time. You change them all the time for the sake of the game. The life is the game. Play it. You change the roles. It doesn't mean, okay, you always behave like that, then I always behave like that. And where is life in that? There is no life in that. Be fluid and just play. Okay? I'm sure that you have a lot of comments, thoughts, suggestions, questions about the power, reallocating power relationship because it's just such a huge subject and I don't want to take too much time on that. All I want to do in this video is remind you, stick to the data. As soon as something happens, what is real and what is completely imaginary in my head. How is my ego doing? Is it totally charged and perceive the world as equivalent to the ego itself, or if not, what is actual data? The data right now is not because, for example, you perceive me as whatever you perceive me, doesn't matter. It's your perception. The data is simple. Here I am, sitting on the couch. There is an ocean out there, and I'm wearing somewhat oceany clothes, like from the beach. It's pretty hot over here. Temperature is like that. I mean, what is the data? Fruits on the table. This is just the data. And then we put emotions on it and stories. And stories can be, I don't know what kind of stories can be. I like it, I don't like it. It could be better, it could be worse, it could be that, it could be another. It could be louder, it could be more silent, it could be more smiles on the video, it could be better lighting. We don't have lighting here, we are traveling. You know what I mean? Perceiver will make you always right. For someone to be right, someone needs to be wrong. As soon as you perceive your spouse being something, doing something, there is a story, and you getting away from the data. If you feel the story rules your life, ask your partner about actuality. What is the data, honey, here? Okay. So this is my simple recipe for today, and I want to wish you from all my heart. Be gentle to yourself. Be true to yourself. Be efficient, be productive. So your life leads you to fantastic places, great adventure. Live great adventure, be free, be prosperous, be loving, be happy if you can.